Hi everyone, happy Friday and welcome to another free family art project. I'm Autumn, the education coordinator here at Studio 23. And if you got to see our previous segment with Tara, you got to learn a little bit about James Artis and his art and his process. And you learned that he works a lot in metal. So I thought I would do something inspired by his metal work today. So the examples that I have, we're doing a foil project today. And this project is all about texture. And I even did another example here where you could even include words if you wanted to make, let's say, like a little Halloween sign or something, right? So if you really look closely, you can see all this beautiful texture we have going on. All right, so how I did that is you're gonna wanna do this in 2 steps. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna want to take your student on a little treasure hunt for some kind of household items, or you could even go outside and find some outside items that they could use. I found some pipe cleaners because we always have these around here. They're great. I found some little leaves that we could use. I found these fun little styrofoam balls that I'm going to use. I even found some feathers, and I found a whole big pack of buttons. So you just want to find things that you will be able to use you don't want it to be very flat, so keep that in mind. You want there to be a little bit at least of width to it, excuse me. Think of at least the width of a button. And then you're gonna set all those items aside and you're gonna use those for your project. Now, when you're ready to do your project, you're gonna want a surface to work on. I have a canvas board, but I think even a piece of cardboard would work just fine. I have some spray adhesive here. If you don't have spray adhesive, you could probably use a glue stick, but your dry times might be different and you might have to play around with how thick or how thin you're applying that. The other things you will need is some aluminum foil. I have the really thin, like dollar store foil here. If you have a really young student, you might want to go ahead and just invest in the more heavy duty stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to get torn. And then you're going to want a lot of napkins or paper towel for this project. You're going to want just a small amount of black paint and something to apply it with. And then if you want, you can grab some items to add a little extra to it. Like I have this little red-orange watercolor marker. You could do anything like that. I mean, really, it's just your imagination is, it's all up to you. So let me go ahead, get the camera moved around, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, make sure you can see my examples. We'll do this right here. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna take your surface, whatever you're working on, and you're going to put a little coat of your spray adhesive or whatever glue you have on it. If you are working with the spray adhesive, you just wanna make sure you get a nice even coat. And then you want to let it dry a little bit. If you're helping a young student and you are using spray adhesive, I would probably do this step for them. It's a little smelly. but you're gonna just a little bit, because you really just want it to be tacky. You're gonna let it dry just a little bit. And then you're gonna wanna grab your items, and just while this is getting tacky, maybe just start to kind of figure out how you wanna lay out your items. And if you see, I have some swirls going on here, just all kinds of little things, so I can create that texture. All right, so let's see. I can put a leaf on here, and see, I can tell it's nice, getting nice and tacky because it's sticking right to it. Let's see. I'll stick some buttons on here. And this is the part where your little one really will just get to start having a good time with this, because they're just gonna get to go for it. All right, let's see. Now I'm gonna start using some of these pipe cleaners, and I'm just gonna start bending them and making some shapes with them. Then you're just gonna make sure your student presses it down so it at least mostly sticks to your canvas or your cardboard, whatever you're using. You know, and just kind of mess around with what makes different textures. Sometimes it's just the process of figuring out, you know, oh, this works well, or this one doesn't work so well, you know? That's half the fun. Maybe we'll throw another button on there. And we'll throw some of these little styrofoam balls. And you can see those even stick too. You can tell because they're not rolling around. Because otherwise, these can get a little messy, kind of in the same way glitter kind of gets everywhere. These little styrofoam balls are good for that too. So with that glue, we have it a little controlled, that's nice when it comes to this. All right. So I think that's good. I think I'm happy with the layout that I have going on here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my surface again. Just give it another good spray. Okay, and we're going to let that dry just a little bit. And while that's getting tacky, I'm going to carefully get some aluminum foil out. And I'm going to attempt to make it, you know, at least, it can be a little bigger, but I want it at least the size of my canvas or whatever I'm using. Okay, and then I'm going to try and really carefully tear it. Let's see how careful I can be. There we go. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and center it as much as I can over my project, okay? And then from there, I'm gonna start pressing down I'm gonna start in the middle. I like to work from the middle out. It seems to work best for me. And I'm really just gonna start putting pressure down. And you know, you might even wanna stand up or have your students stand up just so you can really start to get some pressure on there. And the goal is to get the foil to stick to the canvas or the board or the cardboard, whatever you're working with. And don't worry if it starts to make wrinkles, because that's just going to make even more texture for us later on in the project. So right now we're just worried about getting the aluminum foil stuck to our surface. And the kind of metal project that we're mimicking is a relief sculpture. And relief is really just a technique where sculpted elements remain attached to a background. So you can see how this would be a relief. And in particular, this one that we're doing is a bas relief. And the reason why it's called this one would be called a bas relief is because the sculpture really just projects only slightly from the background. So those are some good art terms to throw out there for your student. So you have relief sculpture, and even more than that, bas relief. All right, I think this is looking pretty good. You know, you might want to go over yours a little more, but I think all in all, I think this is looking pretty good. And for right now, if we want, we can just tuck our ends behind, and you could always either cut them away when you're done, or glue them, or tape them, whatever you'd like to do. And we'll just fold ours away for now, okay? So now that we have all this beautiful texture going on and pattern going on with this, now we want to really, want to showcase it. So this is where the black paint comes in. And I'm just using regular old black paint and just a throwaway brush. And I don't need a lot for this part. I'm just going to start painting over the top. But if you notice, I really want to spread out that paint. I really don't want to do too much. See, it's a very thin coat. And then the other thing you'll notice is I'm really getting in there in the little cracks and crevices and everything. So that's why I'm using this little throwaway foam brush. If you had paint that was safe for kids, you know, I think technically they could even use their hands for this part, as long as maybe you help guide them and show them that they really need to do it very lightly. You know, but painting with your hands, as long as it's a safe paint that you're using, is never a bad thing, because you're getting all that extra sensory in there while you're doing it. And so I'm just going to cover my whole entire surface. Right, and I think that is good. And then from there, you want to just let this dry a tiny bit. You just want it to kind of start to dry. Now, like I said before, you could very easily bend your pipe cleaners in the shape to create a word. I went with boo because, you know, we're close to Halloween, and I don't know, something about this just came off as a little bit spooky to me. You could put a name in it. I mean, really, the sky's the limit with this. But then once it starts to dry, you're going to take some paper towel or some napkin, and you're going to go in and you're just going to start where the relief is coming up. You're going to start rubbing your paper towel or your napkin over the top, just to kind of pull away just the top layer of that paint. And you see what it does is it really starts to pull out that texture and the pattern and the line. And I'm rubbing very softly, because I don't want to rip my paper towel, my aluminum foil, because if you press too hard on this, because this is the cheap stuff, you can rip it, and I've done it in my examples and stuff. So I'm just very lightly going over the top of any of this. And this is just so cool, because it's just this one, because I didn't add a word to it, it's just this really cool kind of abstracted piece. It's very textured. And then because it's, you know, really like monotone with the silver and the black and the gray going on with it, you know, you just really get a real depth of information in it. It just makes it that much more interesting to look at. But then it's also nice because we use aluminum foil, so it has kind of that metal look to it, which pulls, you know, from our artist that we were featuring this week, James Artist. So All right, I think that's looking good. All right, and I will give you a close-up here so you can see all this fun texture and pattern that we got going on here. This would be a really cool project if you let your child do it, to frame even. I mean, just something really fun and abstracted to put up on the wall that they could be proud of. So that is it for my project today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do one yourself, please share it with us. We would love to see it. You can use the hashtag Studio23 on the go. Otherwise, next up is Val, and we'll see you next week. Bye.